For centuries, their names spread fear across the American frontier. Warriors who vanished into mountains, leaders who destroyed entire armies, and fighters who refused to surrender. These are the three most feared Native American warriors in history. For nearly 30 years, the American military hunted one man through the deserts, mountains, and canyons of the Southwest. His name was Geronimo. To settlers, he became a symbol of fear. To the Apache, he was a warrior fighting to protect his people. Geronimo led deadly raids across Arizona and northern Mexico, striking isolated settlements and military patrols before vanishing into the wilderness. Soldiers never knew where he would appear next. One moment the desert was silent. The next, gunfire echoed through the canyons. The U.S. government became obsessed with capturing him. Thousands of American and Mexican troops were sent after a small group of Apache warriors. But Geronimo knew the land better than anyone chasing him. He hid deep within burning deserts, narrow mountain passes, and rocky cliffs where entire armies struggled to survive. Some soldiers claimed Apache warriors could move like shadows through the rocks, watching them long before they were ever seen. Again and again, Geronimo escaped capture, and every escape made him more terrifying. To many Americans at the time, Geronimo was no longer just a man. He had become a legend of the frontier. Next on our list is Crazy Horse. On the northern plains, one warrior became the greatest fear of the United States cavalry. His name was Crazy Horse. Quiet, ruthless, unpredictable. Unlike other leaders, Crazy Horse rarely posed for photographs and avoided attention whenever possible. That mystery only made him more terrifying. To his people, he was a fearless protector of the Lakota way of life. To American soldiers, he became a ghost on horseback. As settlers pushed deeper into native lands, tensions exploded into open war across the plains. Then came the battle that would shock America forever, Little Bighorn. In June of 1876, General George Custer and hundreds of cavalry soldiers rode directly into a massive native force led by warriors including Crazy Horse. It was a disaster. Lakota and Cheyenne fighters surrounded the soldiers from every direction. Gunfire thundered across the hills as mounted warriors charged through smoke and chaos. Within hours, Custer's entire force had been wiped out. The defeat stunned the United States. Newspapers across the country spread stories of the warrior who led fearless attacks straight into enemy lines. Survivors described native horsemen appearing through the smoke at terrifying speed before disappearing just as quickly. Crazy Horse became more than a battlefield commander. He became the symbol of native resistance itself. But the American government refused to forget the humiliation of Little Bighorn. And soon, the hunt for Crazy Horse would begin. And finally, Sitting Bull. Long before the battle even began, Sitting Bull believed he had already seen the future. The powerful Lakota spiritual leader was respected not only as a warrior, but as a man believed to possess visions and prophetic dreams. As thousands of native warriors gathered across the plains, Sitting Bull performed sacred ceremonies, praying for strength and guidance. Then came the vision that would terrify American soldiers for generations. He claimed he saw U.S. cavalrymen falling from the sky into a native camp, like grasshoppers dropping from the heavens. Days later, General Custer and his men were dead at Little Bighorn. To many Lakota and Cheyenne people, Sitting Bull became far more than a chief. He became a spiritual symbol of resistance. His words inspired tribes across the plains to continue fighting against American expansion, and the U.S. government quickly realized something dangerous. Sitting Bull's greatest weapon was not a rifle. It was his influence. Newspapers described him as one of the most feared native leaders in America. Military officials believed his presence alone could unite thousands of warriors against them. Even after years of conflict, Sitting Bull refused to fully surrender his identity, traditions, or beliefs. To his followers, he was a protector of his people. To the American government, he became one of the most dangerous men alive. Geronimo, Crazy Horse, and Sitting Bull. Three names that became feared across the American frontier. For decades, the United States military launched massive campaigns to hunt them down. Thousands of soldiers crossed burning deserts, frozen plains, and deadly mountain passes searching for warriors who seemed impossible to defeat. Some troops disappeared into the wilderness without ever finding their enemy. Others survived only long enough to tell stories that spread fear across the country. Stories of warriors emerging silently from canyon shadows, of horsemen charging through smoke and gunfire without fear, of entire cavalry units surrounded before they even realized they were trapped. To many Americans living at the time, these men became something larger than life, not just warriors, legends. Their names appeared in newspapers across the country. Military officers studied their tactics. Settlers whispered stories about them around campfires late at night. Because the frontier was not just a place of expansion. It was a battlefield, and these warriors stood directly in the path of an unstoppable nation pushing westward. But history often depends on perspective, because to the Apache, Lakota, and Cheyenne people, these men were not monsters. They were protectors, leaders willing to sacrifice everything for their people, their traditions, and their land. Geronimo refused to surrender even when armies surrounded him. Crazy Horse fought until the very end, after humiliating one of America's most famous military forces. And Sitting Bull inspired thousands through belief, leadership, and spiritual strength long after the battles had ended. Even when defeat became inevitable, they refused to disappear quietly, and that refusal changed history forever. Today, the deserts of Arizona, the plains of Little Bighorn, and the old battlefields of the American West still carry their stories. The gunfire faded, the frontier disappeared, but the legend survived. Because America never forgot the warriors it feared most. And history never forgot the people who refused to be broken.